Hello to my earth signs Capricorn, Taurus and Virgo. Welcome to the Virgo new moon. You'll find the timestamps for your rising sign listed below. Hello Capricorn rising, welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Virgo happening on Friday the 15th of September at 11:40 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So switch out your time zone and figure out what works for this one. This is a black night. This is going to be no moon in the sky. We're going to take a great big sigh of relief after the full moon in Pisces 2 weeks ago, which was pretty massive. I don't know about you, but I went on a friggin' journey and it was so valuable. And I really feel that I'm developing my skills around relinquishing control. Now, Mercury, the planet that brings with it intelligence and information and messages, has been retrograde in Virgo for the past 3 weeks or so, 2 weeks. It will station direct the day after this new moon in Virgo. So if there's something around kind of like miscommunication or not quite understanding where to go next, or maybe not feeling that you're being heard or that you have been heard, as Mercury stations direct, we get to be like, right, okay, that's the clarification that I need. Now I can move forward. Now I can action this thing. Now I can ask, perhaps, maybe there's things that I don't know about and I want to learn more about. Virgo rules your 9th house, Capricorn rising. So remember that Pisces rules the 3rd, the house of the goddess. We're going to be talking some big goddess energy in this reading too, though. In opposition to the house of the goddess lies the house of the gods. And so in the 9th house, we formalize, we strategize, and we ingest information. We publish what we know. We get a greater sense of kind of wisdom and knowledge there. Remember Athena, the goddess of wisdom? She's talking to us at this lunation, so I'll go into that. There's things around, perhaps like traveling around or like seeking out greater knowledge, greater information. Some sense of pilgrimage is what I really feel here at this new moon, Capricorn rising. So if you can imagine where you might be setting off to, where you might be journeying next, then this new moon would be the great evening to write a list of what you want to happen. What do you wish to absorb? What do you want to know? Not only is this a new moon where we have control and sort of our powers, our spidey senses are heightened because we're using our instinct. We can't be guided by the light of the moon, so we've got to use our instinct at this one. And this is where the magical work can start to show up for us, because we're in tune with our animal sort of nature. The sun and the moon are at 21 degrees of Virgo. They're forming trine with Uranus, the rebel, in your 5th house of creativity and self-expression and artistry. They're also forming trine with Pluto in your 1st house of the self, the soul's rising intention. All of this transformation that we've been really feeling over the past years is informing where you're going next, what you actually might even put out into the world. Perhaps there's things in your lifetime or the knowledge that you've gleaned, Capricorn rising, that you're about ready to put into the ether. You're about ready to start documenting this thing, or maybe you're going out further afield to seek out more information. That could be something that's happening for you. And I like it. I like it a lot. That lovely relationship with these outer planets too, you know. We're talking Pluto, we're talking Uranus, far afield. It's not exact, but it's getting there. And it feels really nice. What I'm looking at on this chart is something of like a bow and arrow too. So if you imagine that triangle between the luminaries in your 9th house, down to your 1st house with Pluto, across the way with Uranus in your 5th house of the artist. The bow and arrow, that's the bow, that's the pulling back. The arrow is hitting Neptune. So back to the house of the goddess from 2 weeks ago, back to your house of the village, and of worshipping the feminine, of the private rites and rituals that we all encounter in our day-to-day lives, our glamour spells, all of that stuff. So that's the pinpoint that I see here. We're going back to Neptune. The face-off between Neptune and Athena has eased, but Athena has now just entered at 0 degrees your 10th house of your career, your legacy, your public world. So maybe there's some information that you were able to ascertain over the last 2 weeks that you're steeping in and you're about to bring into the public sphere. And perhaps it needs a little further education. Maybe there's something that you need to know more about yourself, about your culture, about your own sense of spirituality. Both the 3rd and the 9th house are incredibly spiritual places. We think about these places and we think about the different ways that worship is enacted across the globe and across time. And we think about our little part to play in that and how we want to further expand our mind on that too. So this is the power of the sun and the moon that we're talking about. But the goddesses are really singing, because at 0 degrees of Libra, your 10th house, your career, your public self, there's also a square between Athena at 0 degrees and Vesta, who has just entered Cancer in your 7th house of relationships, of the other. Remember, Vesta was the keeper of the sacred flame. In some ways, she was worshipped with divine sexuality, sacred sexuality. The women of the town used to make love to the soldiers returning from the horrors of war to cleanse their spirit of that darkness. They used their powers of sexuality as a light, a burning light. I like that configuration for you too, Capricorn rising. There's some sort of match in your 7th house, and it's lighting a little fuse up to your 10th, to Athena, the wisdom. What are you coming to understand about yourself? What are you willing to put out there? In the tarot, the card for Virgo is the Hermit. Some people feel embarrassed when the Hermit shows up. They feel a bit ashamed. They're sort of like, oh, I'm cut off. I've separated myself again from human interaction, or I feel so much more comfortable at home by myself. The difference between being at home by yourself and reading and absorbing and enjoying your own company and hiding is quite large. And the Hermit talks to the former. The Hermit isn't secluding themselves away, as much as we use the word hermit in that derogatory sense of I'm a bit of a hermit these days. Haven't been to the disco in a long time. They're actually full of wisdom. And if we think about the quality of Virgo, which is mutable earth, so your cardinal earth, Capricorn, your initiation into the practicality and the knowledge that hard work is good for us. Virgo is mutable earth. Virgo is malleable like clay. Virgo is impressionable in a really beautiful way. Their absorbency to open their portal, their channel to the other side, and to bring down that knowledge and then to make it sort of manifest in the physical world is a great skill of Virgo. That's why on a personality level, folks talk about being meticulous and detail-oriented and all that kind of thing. Absolutely true. But this period of Mercury being retrograde, perhaps you've been unsure if your hunch is the right one. Should I take this chance? Should I take this journey? Should I start writing some of this stuff down? Maybe I need to know more. Maybe I need to learn more. If that's the case, then how are you going to receive that wisdom? What teachers are you going to ask for? Who are you going to call into your world that has the knowledge that you require, that you can learn from, and that you feel safe in their company too? That it's an equal sort of exchange. That'll be a great thing to do for you at this new moon, Capricorn. And all the while keeping in mind that you're holding the energy of Pluto. You're holding this absolute lived experience of disintegration, of dredging things up from the underworld that need to be reviewed and need to be looked at. You're changing old systems of oppression, hierarchy, all those systems that would have some of us subjugated and some of us licking the cream off the top. You're changing that. You're knowing that. That's in your lived experience. You know that the structures that we build for ourselves sometimes need to be fucking dismantled. Shake yourself free. Remember the phoenix that rises from the ashes. Remember the undergrowth after a bushfire. That's your knowledge. And that is something that can maybe inform your new moon manifestation in your 9th house of the gods, of publishing, of sharing your story. And also the rebel in your creativity too. There might be a different way, a different avenue that you can get this out or shape this thing, thinking clay again, you know. There might be a different medium that you're about to engage in, or a different way of putting this info out into the world. It's stunning. Yeah, let's get some tarot, I reckon. Yeah, they're all, it's a beautiful, beautiful bow and arrow. The self, the artist, the goddess, the gods. Yeah, I like it a lot. I like it a lot. Damn it. Yeah, so we're moving away from this sort of nebulous, gaseous, nondescript, perhaps fear of commitment. Well, I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. Oh, I could slip away into some other world and ignore it and numb out what I'm really feeling here. I could sort of separate myself from the natural world again. I could separate myself from my instincts, numb the feeling away. I could do that. Now we're moving away from this, Capricorn rising. This isn't you anymore. You're awake. You're alive. And you're going to shoot that bow and arrow. This is the Temperance card, and it represents Sagittarius. And what does Sagittarius do? They shoot a bow and arrow. So focusing back on that bow and arrow shape on this chart, we're focusing back into the house of the goddess, the Pisces parts of you, the parts of you that are so in touch with your intuition, that are magical, that are feminine, that are creative, that they create. I'm paraphrasing, but Harriet Falcon is one of the academics that sort of writes about the tarot, or has done so. And there's a great description of the Temperance card that says temperance isn't the balance of Libra, but it's the restriction of Saturn pulling taut on the bow to fire with direction the arrow of Mars. Do you get that? So it's sort of like it's about mixing and working with polarized energies in order to hit the target. It's a beautiful way to describe this card. It does look very serene. And in fact, it is, you know. I think that this angel here in the Sagittarius card is doing that effortlessly, mixing fire and water and just being a magical creature, alchemizing. and you can too. And you've been given the Sword of Truth. The Ace of Swords is one of the most welcome sword cards that we can come across. Some of the swords can be pretty patchy, pretty tricky to work with. But the Ace is an offering from somewhere else. It's clear as crystal, and it's truth. It's the truth. This could be your relationship with Athena over the past couple of weeks. This could be the option or the clarity that you've been looking for a long time, Capricorn rising. So do tell me what it is. I'd love to know. I'd love to know what you've got cooking away, and have fun with it too. I love new moons. It's a different feeling to a full moon. A full moon can feel pretty volatile. A new one, I'll say it again, we become animals. Our instinct is harnessed. That's your reading, Capricorn rising. Thank you for being here with me. You can tip me at buymeatocoffee.com/umaruby. I can read your birth charts, which look like these, over at umaruby.com. And I'll be with you in 2 weeks, and we'll discuss the full moon in Aries. Now, it's a plot twist, because we know the dragon's head is in Aries, but there's no eclipse this time around. The moon's too far away. So I'll explain further when we meet again. Throw me any old emoji in the comments. I was saying wheat before, but I don't even know if there is a wheat emoji. I was thinking Virgo harvest. Yeah, forget it. Whatever you want. Love you. Bye. Hello, Taurus rising. Welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Virgo, happening on Friday the 15th of September at 11:40 a.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time. So switch it out for wherever your head may rest. This one feels very creative, Taurus rising. I'm really looking forward to kind of maybe explaining to you what I can see here. First of all, I hope you're feeling kind of a bit more relaxed after the mania that was the Pisces full moon. It was intense. I felt it was really, really amazing. I had the opportunity of really taking a journey and really working with the energy of Pisces and Neptune and Athena. There was endless discoveries for me. Portals were open, doorways were open. I was welcomed back to a space that felt very ancient, and I felt that I was a part of something, and that I was doing the right thing. So hopefully there were some feelings for you that were similar to that. You know, the Pisces is your 11th house of your sort of friends and good fortune and the human collective. So hopefully there was something in there that you felt centered in amidst all of the friggin' psychedelia. But let's get stuck back into this creative zone. I've got lots of information. I'm trying to be as articulate again as I possibly can. Mercury is still retrograde at time of filming. So crossed wires, absolutely. And on that, Mercury will station direct the day after this new moon. So perhaps use this reading as a bit more of like to tool out some of the possibilities of your 5th house. In the 5th, we create, we have sex, we feel pleasure. It's the house of the artist, I might say. So we're going to really zone into the parts of you that are expressive, that are giving, that are imaginative. What I can see here is a beautiful triangle, which is called a trine, and it has to do with the sun and the moon in Virgo at 21 degrees. And that's shooting its energy across to Uranus, who is in your 1st house of the self, the soul's rising intention. Uranus is the rebel, remember that? So we can take some of that feeling and sew it into this new moon. Not only that though, they're both shooting up to Pluto in Capricorn. This is in your 9th house of the gods. So So this is talking to me about the reconfiguration, the disintegration perhaps of maybe some older faith-based structures that you adhered to or that you felt beholden to. This talks about an opening up, a breaking open of your spiritual knowledge. And you can see how they're all sort of working in harmony together, earth sign to earth sign to earth sign, cardinal, fixed, mutable, the rebel, the destructor, the luminaries. Now at a new moon, there's no moon in the sky, so we need to use our instincts. We get to become more like an animal. We smell things out, we sniff it out. We get to work with whatever's left here on the planet, and we get to cast our spells, make our tinctures, make our wishes, set our altar. I think that this would be a beautiful one for you to set. If you don't already, lay out an altar for this new moon, Taurus rising, and think about what your next creative output is going to look like. In tarot, the Virgo card is the Hermit card. And so in the Northern Hemisphere, we're leaving the summer weather, entering into the autumnal weather. So there's a seduction with the Hermit to like peel away, come away from the social responsibilities of life, and to really sit there and conjure and open up that channel, that portal to your spirituality, learn the lessons of the universe and bring them back down to earth as a good Virgo and alchemize with them, make them real, make them tangible. In the Southern Hemisphere, we're kind of leaving our Hermit phase. Winter is wrapping up. The mutable season of Virgo is giving way to the next weather. You can smell it in the air now already. Today's been very staccato. It's been full of perfume, full of bright, bright, bright spring sun, and then grey, rain, cold. Two sides of the same coin playing all at once. It can trip you out a little bit. But you can see that that's how the connotations of a mutable sign can play out too. They're giving way, they're releasing the old patterns into the new. So maybe Taurus rising, you're about to step into a really creative space. And it's refined, it feels refined to me. It feels like things, concepts, ideas, structures have given way to give you a bit more wiggle room, where you can stand in your artistry and you can stand in your voice. You can work with Mercury and wait till there's a sort of direct action, and then get it out there, get on that megaphone, start creating it, start making it happen. Now, what I can also see on this chart is the triangle between the earth signs, but that feels like a sort of like taut bow and arrow. The arrow is pointing back to Neptune in Pisces, back to your 11th house, back to your sense of community and the human species, the human condition, to good friends and good friendship. So as much as there's been this sort of maybe like solo-ish sort of mission, maybe it's just an internal one that feels quite solo, it feels like you're about to sort of cast it back out into the depths of Pisces in your 11th, where you're psychically connected to folks, where you really feel a part of something bigger than yourself. It's really lovely. It feels really juicy. I like this one. I like it a lot. I'm also looking at Venus for this reading for you, Taurus, because traditionally Venus is the planet that will guide you in this trip around the wheel. Venus is the planet of art and beauty and love. I washed my hair especially for her today, actually. It needs a cut, but I washed it. Venus, in your 4th house of your home, your privacy, your root system in Leo, is minutes edging away from a conjunction with Juno, who is also called Hera, the queen of the gods. She talks about commitment. She talks about our relationships. She talks about our we have the courage of our convictions with Hera. We really do. We take no shit too. We're sort of like, this is actually what commitment means to me. Perhaps there's something here about you're going through like a recommitment ceremony, perhaps with those that you love, your lovers. you're sort of really being like, right, okay, it's been wild, but I love you, and this is what I want my roots to look like. This is what I want my ancestry and my home life to look like with you. And this could be your partner, this could be, there's many different folks that we can include in that part of our lives. These could be conversations you have with your ancestors, perhaps folks that aren't here anymore, but you can feel their spirit. That could be something that's occurring for you too. Because the day after, I think, or maybe it's, let me just check my notes, 2 days after this new moon, Venus will be forming an exact square with Jupiter in your first house. And we know that Jupiter, or Zeus, is the one that expands and brightens everything up, that brings with it a great sense of bounty and optimism and hope. Well, a square between Venus and Jupiter is stunning. It's like more of this, please. More of this feeling. I need some more of this. And you can have more of it. You can have as much as you want. I love this reading, Taurus rising. I think it's really, really great. I think it's really beautiful. I hope that you can feel that too. I hope that that's sort of like gently sort of like rising in you. That rebel Uranus is going to be in your first house for a little while yet, so we may as well make the most of it when there's these sort of like points of note. And Neptune in Pisces too is not going anywhere for the time being. That all the outer planets seem to be speaking to each other around this lunation. So let's speak back. Let's have a conversation with them. Yeah, I like it. I like it. I'm going to get you some tarot, I reckon. I'm going to use these ones. Mercury in the 5th can be a bit jarring too. I hope that the last few weeks or so, there may have been some real crossed wires with folks that you collaborate with. There may have been a real sense of like, this isn't work. Oh no. This is not how we do things. This is like, let's back off from that. So just keep that in mind too. Like, not every miscommunication means an end. Like work with that sense of like Mercury, being Gatorade. Work with that. And look forward to the direct motion the day after this new moon too. So maybe if you can set your altar at the new moon, like set it to, let's think about who you can ask as well, who you can talk to. Sappho might be a good one. Do you know much about Sappho? Sappho is the, the term sapphic, don't you? Well, Sappho was also the patron deity of art, of visual art, I believe. So that could be someone that you could have a little chat with too. But maybe Venus is probably a good one. I did wash my hair. That mirror that we're all longing for, we're all craving to have someone hold up a mirror and we can see our reflection, and we hold up a mirror and they can see theirs. That beautiful loving relationship, that's sort of, again, a triangle between one, the other, and the love, the spirituality flowing to the both of you. There's something here about autonomy. I think that maybe if you imagine your lovers, your loving relationships, imagine that concept too, the idea of coming together with someone. It works best when we're sitting in a lovely space of 9 of Cups-ness, when we can kind of sit back and reflect on all of the emotional lessons that we've been able to sort of absorb in this lifetime. Good and bad. I'm sure that not all of these cups here in this card are full of mirth. Some of them are filled with pain and sorrow and loss and regret. But it's still a pretty great collection. We go through these emotional lessons in life, and there's sometimes, as everything, it's always a wheel, but there are certain moments where you're like, yeah, I'm committed to showing up. I really am. I'm really proud of myself for continuing to show up. This card, the Lovers, can be a bit daunting for some folks because it can feel a bit out of reach. They can feel a bit trepidatious around that. But if you remember that story that I told you, I'm saying that because this is the Gemini card in the tarot, and the glyph of Gemini is those two mirrors with the light and the love bouncing back and forth. That's all we can hope for. And when there is no mirror, the best thing that we can do is reflect and sit with ourselves and be like, yeah, I know a thing or two about human connection, about love and relationships, and I really enjoy them, and I really look forward to getting stuck into some more because I know what I have to give and I know how I love, and I'm working on it. Remember, Venus has the mirror. You know, Venus, the glyph of Venus is a mirror. It's very glamorous. Maybe a little glamour spell might be nice for you too, Taurus rising. Maybe if you just, all you have to do is like doll up, you know, not with makeup or anything, but like anoint yourself however you like to make yourself feel gorgeous. That could be a beautiful thing to do at this moon as well, just because she's chatting with us. That idea that you've had, it's time to plant it too. Whatever idea you've had, if you're working with someone who's really intelligent, this person's been raised by great minds. They're a great strategist. They will probably have a balance to some of your creative flow and a strategy to help aid that outcome. But maybe after Mercury stations direct in your 5th house, take the seed and plant it. The pentacles sometimes are called the coins in tarot, which of course reminds us of money. But I've been thinking a lot about that, and I think that the pentacles also represent wisdom. And so if we think about sort of this idea of like acquisition and accruing and like counting, wisdom is priceless. And so if that's what you're collecting, if that's what you're sort of like building this beautiful hall of ornamentation, all of your wisdom, all of your different lessons and knowledge, and that's what you're leaving behind. Couldn't ask for more than that, babe. So let's refocus. Let's decipher and figure out what that seed is. Let's hold off for Mercury to station direct. And then let's activate it. Let's go. Let's start. Let's get stuck into it. Good on you, Taurus rising. I love you. Happy new moon. You can tip me at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. I can read your birth chart, which looks like this. I'll draw you one up and we can discuss it over Zoom. Throw me whatever emoji you like in the comments, please. I said wheat before, but I don't even know if there is a wheat emoji, and I haven't had time to check because I'm horoscoping. So if there's a wheat emoji, throw it in. If not, whatever you like, something else. Just let's feed the beast. Let's feed the artificial intelligence that has us all by the friggin' throat, shall we? Yeah, let's encourage it. Anyway, I love you very much. I'll be with you in 2 weeks and I'll speak about the full moon in Aries. There's going to be a bit of a plot twist. There's no eclipse in Aries, even though the dragon's head is there. I'll explain further in the next horoscope. Suck on this reading. Enjoy it. Love you, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye. Hello Virgo rising, welcome to your horoscope for the new moon in Virgo, happening on the 15th of September at 11:40 a.m. if you're in the southern hemisphere with me. This is a new moon in the 1st house, Virgo rising. This is going to be lovely, and a great deal of progress can be made on this night for you. How was the Pisces full moon? How did everything go? Were you okay? Was it valuable? Did it feel worthwhile? I had a beautiful experience, intense, very valuable. And I look forward to hearing what came of it for you. A full moon in the seventh house is a lovely time to say thanks. It can sometimes have a little bit of difficulty attached to it too. There can be a spotlight of over emotion that might happen there. So if that was the case, and if you needed to cry some tears, we can bring you back down to earth with this new moon in your first house. I believe that the first house represents our soul's rising intention. The rising sign, the rising placement, is the point on the chart that sets off our house system. It's representative of the eastern horizon and what was rising the moment that you took your first breath. So as a Virgo rising, you can kind of bring the significations of the sign Virgo into yourself a little bit deeper and sort of get to know the sign, get to know that part of yourself as something separate maybe to the brightness of your personality or the sensitivity of your emotions, your body, what your emotional needs. It's something that's sort of rising from below, up and out. It's exciting stuff. It might be a lovely night for you to take to yourself, Virgo rising. A lot of energy has been expelled out there in the seventh house, other people, all of that kind of thing. So for this one, it might be great for you to enjoy it alone or with in your own library, as it were. When we look at the tarot, you know this by now, but it's the Hermit card that we look at to talk about the significations of Virgo. Some people feel embarrassed about this card when it shows up in a reading. They're sort of like, oh, I have been shutting myself off, or I've been not participating. I've been sort of keeping myself separate. I've been hiding. Other people are incredibly satisfied in their own company. Other people use time in solitude to regroup and to reset. There can be a lot of energy that's taken from someone that's consistently available to the outside world, that's consistently being asked of. And so at times of when solitude's an option, there are some folks that go into the proverbial library of their inner chambers of their own self. You can see that this hermit is carrying the star in their little cage. The star is the one that brings the solutions to human beings. The star is the one that solves the problems of heartache and solves the problems of conflict. The hermit is following that star. In their solitude, they've been actively learning. They've been sitting in that library and they've been absorbing as much education and information and knowledge, wisdom, as they can. Wisdom's a great word for it. I'm looking at another tarot card here, Virgo rising. This is the card that might denote the lunation itself. So the sun and the moon are at 21 degrees of Virgo this time around. And the tarot card for that decan of the sign is the 10 of Pentacles. And this is a card of legacy. This is a card of leaving behind something. When all is said and done, what is going to be left behind? What mark are you going to make on the world or in your family? And sometimes when looking at the Pentacles cards, a lot of triggering feelings can come up because in other readings of the tarot or other decks, the Pentacles are also called the coins. And coins can really stress people out, especially coming from an experience where there was not a lot to go around, or looking forwards and thinking to yourself, there's not all that much to spread around. That's when these triggering feelings can start to come up. But on that idea that we just talked about wisdom, I think that you can also read the Pentacles as wisdom. So the 10 of Pentacles and this collection of precious lessons, knowledge, guidance. That's a beautiful collection. Kind of looks priceless to me too. If you can offer guidance to people in your lifetime, Virgo rising, then there's nothing more admirable than that, I'd say. Sure, it's nice to be able to buy dinner for someone, and sure, it's nice to be able to think that you're providing, or providing for other people is such a lovely thing to do. You can provide for people with your intellect, with your knowledge, with your wisdom. Never let that slip you by. And sometimes when looking at these pentacle cards and kind of ascribing them to your sign too, the Virgo pentacle cards are the 8, the 9, and the 10 of pentacles. So there's a cumulative sort of feeling there, and a sort of the end of a cycle, which is why we have that mutable energy with Virgo too, giving way to the next season. Pentacles can also mean wisdom. Think about it. What will I talk about now? I think I'd like just to get you some tarot. I think Virgo, there's all manner of configurations going on up in the sky. I can see a bow and arrow. I can see a trine between the outer planets. I can see all of this stuff. But really, I think that there's a nice feeling of like quiet that I'd like to imbue into this reading. No distractions, no interruptions. I think that Mercury, your guiding light, will station direct the following day after this lunation. So when doing your soul searching, when doing your soul mapping, you can maybe look forward to some greater clarity around that the day after. Mercury, as I said, is your guiding light, the one that will show you where to go, what way to turn. Can sometimes be a bit staccato. Mercury does move quite quickly. And so and also lots of retrogrades too, so lots of opportunities for misunderstanding. But when you can find a rhythm with it, and the sense of practicality too, like I think that's how Mercury sort of works with Virgo, is like the information needed in order to move forward on this or that or the other. So find the rhythm with Mercury, and maybe take extra special note of when the retrograde periods occur, because that might highlight or underpin some of the stopping and starting maybe in your life that you can sometimes feel. And there'll be a great feeling of release when things are finally clear. I got the Emperor in the center here. The Ace of Wands on that side, the Queen of Cups on this side. It feels to me that there's something about sort of living for others, or living under this sort of instruction of others for you, Virgo rising. And it's sort of, it's that sort of tense feeling. I think my mind's going back to some of the other horoscopes that I can remember, and the different stories that we've had about sort of miscommunication and sort of consistent giving, consistent, building structures of support for other people. And I think, this is really focusing in on you at this new moon. There's not many times for you to focus in on you in a year. Take this time, take this moment, Virgo rising. The Ace of Wands is a match. The Ace of Wands is the start of a grand adventure. It's being given to you from somewhere else too. It's kind of like inspiration maybe. If you can think about it that way, think about your inspiration, what motivates you, that's not to do with your family or your lovers or your responsibilities, that's to do with just you and you alone. How do you embody this feeling of the Emperor? How do you feel kind of like large and in charge and like in it? The Emperor's got a lot of great fire energy about them. They do kind of speak to the sign Aries. And you think about Aries diving in head first, straight all the way, like not really sure how to do it, not really minding, just going for it. They'll figure it out when they get there. You can include some of that in your life as well, Virgo rising. You really can. You can be Aries. As much as we love you to be Virgo, you can be Aries too. For you, Aries rules your 8th house, which is the house of like intimate bonds, and the lessons that we learn about having to say goodbye to those that we care about. And Chiron has been gently sort of floating around in there, so maybe a lamentation here and there is something that you can feel. Also, the dragon's head has just entered into Aries, so we're going to be feeling this focus, almost like this insatiable quality over the next 18 months for you to really get to the root of connection, to really make those commitments, to really say yes. As much as the fear of loss can follow us, we've got to say yes. We can't let that fear stop us from doing the thing, because then we'll stay where we are. We'll stay perhaps in that library too long. The tarot teaches us that everything is a cycle, everything begins and has its season and gives way to the next. So as much as the Virgo parts of you are why we love you, we also love the Aries parts of you too. And maybe this invitation from the Ace of Wands, this inspiration might get you back up on your feet again. I look forward to it. You've got some really loving support in your back corner too. You've got someone who is really emotionally articulate, really available to talk it out, really available to listen to how you've been feeling, separate from those responsibilities. Maybe it's something more of like a spiritual sort of unearthing. You know, you've been feeling this urge to act on something, and it's been something that you've set down for a long time, but it's time to pick it back up. Well, look, maybe this is the offering. Maybe speak to this Queen of Cups. They've got all of the time in the world to talk to you about this thing, babe. Their cup is never empty. You're not taking from them by asking them to invest in you, you know. Intimacy is an interesting topic for some people because they feel, I can't, you know, I don't want to burden you with this. Is a way that some folks relate to their emotions. I can't burden you with this. And that's a real shame, because that disqualifies the opportunity for a reciprocal emotional relationship. Because you're giving, you've got open ears, you're going to receive people's pain, people's heartache, people's love, people's, excitement. And you should be able to give your sadness, your sorrows, your heartache, your excitement, your love, your possibility to other people in your life too, Virgo rising. And the Queen of Cups really reminds us of that. She stands there, and she stands there really like calmly and warmly. Don't ignore this inspiration, Virgo rising, because it's yours. You're allowed to take it. We remember this part of you. Aries ram. Oh, let's go. That's part of you. Go to it. Go follow it. Get back in the ring. After a little bit of soul searching, after a bit of time away to yourself, and maybe a bit of an audience with Mercury too. Let them station direct, let them bring that clarity with them. Perhaps, in fact, maybe Mercury stationing direct the day after this new moon will be like, and here's the thing. Let's get cracking. We miss you. We want to see you again. That's your reading, Virgo rising. Thanks for stopping by. I appreciate it. I accept tips over at buymeacoffee.com/umaruby. I can read your birth chart if we've not met before. I draw them up and they look like that, something like that. And I can chat to you about it on Zoom. I can take you through a little guided tour of your own thumbprint, your own evidence of existence, your map of the galaxy, the moment that you were born. I'll be with you in 2 weeks. We're going to talk about the full moon in Aries. Now we know that dragon's head has moved into Aries, the dragon's tail's in Libra. The moon's going to be too far away from the dragon to chew it up, so there'll be no eclipse this time around. But we are prepping for eclipse season, so more to be continued. So I'll speak to you in 2 weeks. I love you, Virgo. Take care.